Are we really free? We're told we live in a world of choices, opportunities, and endless possibilities. But is that really true? And the question is, why do we feel so busy and so stuck and sometimes even trapped in our lives? If you like the raw, unfiltered, very opinionated truth, you come to the right place. Let's dig in. So I felt stuck for a long time in my life. When I came to Baja, a place with very few rules, very few laws as well, I felt a ridiculous amount of freedom for literally the first time in my life. But my type of freedom isn't for everyone. This sort of freedom to some can seem like chaos, danger, almost too much responsibility for every single component of your life. But I love it. Really, it's about finding where your level of freedom is and what suits you in your life, and then choosing that, as opposed to being contained or stuck and imprisoned in a life that you don't choose. And so this video is going to be about how we can each find our own freedom, and if you're actually free or not, and then what you can do about it. Oh, and I'm Steve. I was poor, then I became rich before I was 30. Then I really didn't like that lifestyle at all. And so I took about 20 years off and decided to go find what real happiness was. And this channel is dedicated to exploring those ideas and seeing if anything might interest you or help you in your journey in life. Okay, the first thing, did you ever wonder who decides what you hear or where your information comes from? Just to give you an idea, there are 6 corporations that control 90% of the media. That's where our information and our ideas come from. And that's a little disturbing to me. And it's not just media. If you think about the food companies, the healthcare companies, these are all huge industries controlled by very few players, and that control almost all of our life and what we buy or consume or take as services in everyday life. And I'm not saying it's all bad, but it makes you wonder why the choices we have are not, or just sometimes don't seem like they're the healthiest choices that we could make for ourselves. So then the question becomes, are we really free to make good choices, or are we so bombarded with bad choices that we find it hard to even look at the good choices? And then on top of that, there's your time. And so in the US, you probably hand over 30 to 40% of your income to the government. You spend the rest of the year working, trying to pay bills, and trying to keep up with the Joneses and live a regular, ordinary life. But it's stressful, and it seems sometimes like we're just not getting ahead. And the stress doesn't seem to lessen. It makes you wonder, are you getting your money's worth from this said government? And is it actually helping you live a more free and happy life? And it's not just about money or work or your time. It's about our minds. With the advent of social media, with the increasing division in our society, and I was around before there was social media, and there wasn't this amount of division in our society before social media. And the interesting thing about social media is that social media profits from your attention. No matter how they get your attention, they make money from advertisers. So then their motive is to get your attention any way possible. And it seems like arguments, division, extremism, and car crash psychology are the way to keep our attention. And so social media is feeding that in order to make money from us. And so that kind of makes you wonder, are we letting social media companies just rot our minds and being distracted by the dumbest issues that create division, and it doesn't do anything whatsoever to help us, but it helps companies like Facebook become more profitable? And so the big question is, how do we know if our freedom is real or if we're just being played? Well, there's a few ways that you can look at that. So the first one is, do you hesitate to question the narratives that you see out there for fear of retribution, being canceled, outed out of your friend group, for fear of being fired. These are all indications that we're not truly free and that anything we could say or do could destroy our lives. And so if questioning seems risky, is that real freedom? Next, and number two, is you hear the same ideas everywhere. You know, besides the narratives that came out around COVID, it seems like everyone's reading from a similar script in mainstream media. Or just to give you an example, 2 minutes ago, everyone was talking about overpopulation and that that's going to cause climate change and global catastrophe. There's too many people. And literally, the narrative has changed to now it's population collapse. And now the big problem is that with all these people aging and not enough people being replaced, there's not enough babies being born, then the economy is going to collapse and we're all going to be bankrupt and everyone's going to be poor. And so it kind of makes you wonder, how do we go from too many people instantaneously to not enough people? And if you think about it, if the economy is more important than human happiness, then that's a problem. And then the other thing is, if the people that own company want workers and they want to keep the economy going and they're doing it for profit, that means the less people there are, the less profit they're going to make. So what are they going to do to change the narrative? They're going to say, we have a population problem. We need to bring in more immigration so that we have workers that can fill our businesses and we can make more profit and we can keep up the dollars that we make, regardless of how that destroys society. Does that sound a little bit sketchy and a little bit like it's an agenda that doesn't have your health in mind? The third way to ask yourself if you're truly free is to ask yourself, are you too busy to even think? Are you too stressed out? Are you working too much? Are you doing too many things and your schedule is so overwhelmed that you don't even have the time to think about what truly matters and what truly makes your life happy? Well, that's an indication that you might not be as free as you think. And the next one is, I mentioned it already, if you are being pushed to division, if you are being pushed to constantly take sides, does that seem like freedom to you? And lastly, is the feeling of being stuck and empty. And that's sort of like something in your gut that just kind of says, you know what, is this it? Is there something more that I could get out of life? Because this really doesn't feel like an in-depth sort of fulfillment. And that's when you really have to question if you're really free to choose that deep fulfillment that you want in life. So if you're like me and you were thinking, wait a minute, my freedom might be just limited here, then this next part is for you. And so the next part, we're going to talk about 5 ways that you can start to gain your freedom back in your life. I got to interrupt the video for a second. If you like this content and you want to support the channel, there's a thanks button below there. You can click that and you can donate, and I would really appreciate your support. And that way I can make so many more in-depth, raw, unfiltered videos for your enjoyment. Thanks. Back to the video. So step number 1 is question the narrative and ask who's going to benefit from this story that we are being told in the mainstream media. And if you start to poke through that and ask questions, you may just find that there's an agenda that doesn't involve your freedom, but involves a little bit of fear and control. And it's not going to be every story, but you really want to dig into that. And number 2, of course, based on number 1, is make time for your own thoughts and spend less time on social media. Because ultimately, social media is there to make money on your attention, regardless of what that attention is. You could be going on social media and be the happiest person ever because of what you see on social media. You could be going on social media and be the most unhappy person ever, be super stressed out, and literally want to commit suicide. It does not matter to them. As long as you are on social media, they are making profit. So for your health, you probably just want to spend less time on that. And number 3, start a business of your own. Find something you love doing or that you're good at and start to make money on your own. So it gives you the ability to be more independent and to feel less repercussions from society and from a potential employer. And it gives you more free time as well to be independent and on your own. And so that you can be more free to do what you love, make some money at it. And you don't necessarily have to be attached to the system and then feel any sort of punishment if for some reason you don't go along with the narrative, or you want to ask questions and some people feel like there are too many questions, or if you just disagree on some very simple principle. This gives you the freedom to make more choices for your health. Number 4 is you can also take more steps towards your control. And so that could be, buying from a local market and not a major corporation. That could be building a garden, feeding yourself, eating at home. The less that you are relying on society to provide you with all of these extra services that are ultimately just convenience services and probably are unhealthy for you because you don't know what the ingredients are. The more that you can take control, take responsibility for your life, and the less reliant you will be on someone else, you'll have more freedom to make good choices in your everyday life. And number 5 is de-stress. Focus on your relationships and the stuff that you really enjoy doing. Go take a walk in nature. Go relax with your family. Spend time doing things you love and doing activities you love. And then you'll start to see the real freedom in doing the things you love and how much that fulfills your life outside of what might be prescribed by society, which is typically buying something. Okay, that's 5. But here's the real kicker. If you want more freedom, you just need to take charge of your own life. See, the interesting thing about freedom is that it comes with responsibility. And the more responsibility you take for your own life in every way, the more freedom you get. So you get to decide where that balance is. And here's the reverse. If you let someone else or something else take responsibility for your life, then the more freedom that you will lose. So there you go. Are you really free? Do you want more freedom in your life? If so, then you got the steps now. Let me know in the comments what you think you may need to do in your life to gain more freedom. And otherwise, like, subscribe, and stay tuned because more coming your way.